Yes, everyone, welcome back again to the Irish Hotspur. And in this video, we are going to be talking about Archie Gray and where his future lies. Specifically, what position will he be playing under Ange Postecoglou? Because it was a big surprise to see him play as a center back in the opening game versus Hearts. I made a bold conclusion that I don't think he will be playing as a right back in my scout report when we first signed him. Dave might have some different thoughts on where he could play. So that's what this whole video is going to be about. So everybody in those comments below, let us know where you think Archie Gray's future lies in this Ange Postecoglou system, what position suits him best, all that good stuff. Smash that like button for us. But Dave, I go to you on this one first. I actually don't think Archie Gray is going to be a right back for Spurs. I think he might
Why
end up
though?
someplace else. Well, might as well answer my own question then. The reason being is I think he was used more or less at Leeds as sort of a stopgap, as a filler, because they did end up having injuries right in that
Yeah.
right back position under Daniel Farka, the Leeds manager, and he was more being, I think, played there because he's so good on a football IQ level as well as on a technical level that he can technically, as we like to say, do a job, out there. And he did that for the majority of the season. But where his skills, I think, really do lie are in his composure in possession, the decision making that he has, the close control that he has as well. He's a good ball carrier. He knows how to be able to take it past a player and also how to retain possession. And I think with those sort of type of attributes, and I think his good defensive output from what we could tell against Hearts, he's strong defensively. He's not bad actually in the air for someone who's only 18, 19 years of age. And then two, I think he has that sort of for that sort of aggression in the tackle that does show that he has that bit of want, that desire defensively. He's not going to be found out there. He's not going to be caught, I think, being pushed around or anything like that, again, despite how young he is. So I think, Dave, is that right back position just doesn't technically suit him best. It's not really perfect for him. Yes, he can do a job out there, but I think what Spurs have learned from that time at Leeds is that this is a very intelligent player. This is a guy that can work hard defensively, but also be good enough in possession to hold his own. And with those sort of attributes, I think he might actually be tipped to compete with Basuma in that number 6 role. Plenty of Leeds fans see him more as a midfielder than they do as anything else. They think that's really where his future lies. That's actually his best position. And the fact that he has that sort of defensive output from such great numbers from last season in the championship, but just in general, from whenever you watch him, does seem to have a future for me as more of a deep lying kind of midfielder that will help out the center backs, kind of act as that sort of third man back there to be able to see danger, to be able to stop any transitions or any counterattacks, and then can also have that sort of, again, that sort of football IQ to be able to see danger before it happens and kind of stop it defensively. But then in possession, he looks pretty press resistant. If you try to put pressure on him, he can receive it on the half turn. He makes decisions quickly. He knows when there is someone near him, so he can lay it off to someone else, or he can try to, turn them or find an angle to try to open things up. I think where Archie Gray's future really lies at Spurs is in the midfield somewhere. And he doesn't really come across to me as more of a goal scoring threat. He comes across to me more as again, kind of a defensive kind of mold of a midfielder. And Basuma, he's had some struggles from last season. We knew there were some concentration issues. Certain games he's brilliant, other games he isn't. I think Archie Gray could offer really good competition for him there, and also could actually put a bit of a fire, I think, up Basuma, because he's such a young player that when you see somebody like that challenging for your position who doesn't really have much to lose, right? It's kind of a it's kind of a free hit really for Archie Gray in this first season. Wherever position he can get into the team, he'd definitely take it. But I think Spurs see him as a future number 6, as a future deep lying playmaker to compete with Yves Bissouma. I'm going to start there, Dave. What do you make of that?
I don't disagree with you in terms of it long term being maybe the division for Archie Gray. But for me, I think, look, let's start with it, right? The right back conversation only comes up because he filled in for that half season for Leeds under Daniel Farka. Otherwise, before that, it was only talked about as a central midfielder before that, coming through the academy and for the first half season in the Leeds team. So you are correct in a way that, he's always been a central midfielder. The talk has only come about because he filled in there. But like you said, I think that more speaks to his ability in terms of technically on the ball, but also his footballing IQ. And this is one thing I've always argued about good players, Jack. They can play multiple positions competently. They might excel in one, but they're not going to look out of place on others if you ask them to fill in and do a job. So that speaks to the caliber of Archie Gray. And also, I'd also say you could probably make the same argument for someone like Jamie Donnelly now, who filled in at left back, even though he's been a forward all his life. You know, it shows you can maybe put him in the same category with his technique and his IQ, and that's why he's able to fill in there and do a job. But I think, and look, that's why Spurs signed him. As soon as they seen he could play two positions, that was the green light. You know, that's absolutely green light for Tottenham Hotspur. Fill in two positions. It's going to save us money somewhere along the line. So that's what helped get that deal over the line, because of the versatility. But I think initially, and look, it all depends whether the club go and sign another right back. It depends whether they keep Jed Spence around, which today, I thought he signed a 5-year contract, but it wasn't. It was Drew Spence for the women's team. You know, I was like, oh, Jedi's gone and done it. So it really all depends what they're going to do at right back over the rest of this window. Are they going to do anything? If they keep Jed Spence around, I think then you're right. He'll go straight into the team as a central midfielder and compete for one of them spots. If they don't keep Jed Spence around and they don't sign anybody, I think initially for the course of this season, he will start getting minutes at right back and eventually transition into the midfield. Because the way I look at it right now, we are so stuck with midfielders. We must have about 10 to 12 deep, you know, and of various different levels. You've got some young up and coming with great talent. You've got some that are just deadwood, that are, you know, absolute oil to the water of Ange Postecoglou's football, the purity of Postecoglou's football. And then you've got some players who are very good players, very good technicians in there. So it's going to be hard to for him to find his role and the right combination with him initially. And so that's why I think he's going to get his initial minutes in at right back, take them there, and then eventually transition into the midfield. But I do take your argument that eventually I think he'll play that number 6. From what I've seen of him at Leeds at right back last season, for what we've seen against Hearts at centre back, he's a very good player in terms of reading the game. He reminds me of Roy Keane a little bit. Seems to always be in the right position, get stuck in, and he always comes out with that ball. That's the big thing for me. Sometimes with Basuma, he'll go in maybe a bit half-hearted, and the ball ricochets or comes out in their favour, whereas he goes in and comes out with it. But like you said, you can go and press him. He's also good enough to be able to handle it. Long term, I think he plays 6, no problem. Just short term, I think initially he'll get in the team as a right back, depending on what we do at right back.
Whenever I've watched Archie Gray, what I liked about him most is more that fact that he has this sort of defensive presence about him. Yes, he is pleasing on the eye. Yes, he is very skilled in possession, a very easy on the eye type of footballer. But for someone that's so young, he has that sort of aggression in the tackle that I really like. And I wonder if that would be better served in kind of the midfield than actually out wide in the right back position, because what Postecoglou I'd assume is looking for more in a right back is someone who is similar to Porro, that can offer that creative threat in the final third, who can play in those crosses, find those little passages, you know, through the lines of the midfield or through the back line, play people in, make runs beyond the winger, you know, to cause people problems. And like I said, I think Archie Gray is an intelligent footballer, but I don't necessarily think that really suits his game very much. I think what helped Leeds is that he's solid defensively. He's not going to get caught out too much in that right back role, but he's also just going to be good enough in possession where he's not going to give it away too often either. But he's not going to be the most attack-minded, I think, fullback in an Ange Postecoglou system. I think he'd be more used as a conservative kind of, you know, possession-based type of right back if he were to play out there. And it just doesn't feel like that really suits the system as well as it could. And maybe instead of him playing more as a center defensive mid, where I think a lot of his attributes really do suit the Postecoglou system. Like I said, he's press resistant, strong defensively, has that football IQ where he knows when to move it quickly, knows when to maybe, you know, act a bit more cool and composed in possession, and then has that sort of defensive know-it-all, that defensive sort of knack of seeing danger before it's there and, you know, putting in the challenges, just try to stop any sort of transitional moments. And I just think all those attributes could be better served in more of a defensive midfield type of role, or even like what he did just recently in more of a center back type of role than really is out wide. I think out wide in that inverted fullback role that Porro plays, I think Ange Postecoglou does want someone that's a bit more creative in the final third, someone who can offer a bit more of an attacking threat. I'm not saying Gray can't. But from what I can tell, from what I've seen from highlights, as well as a little bits and moments from Leeds United this last season, it's not really totally his game, I think, to be that sort of threat in the final third as much as someone like Porro is. And also Jed Spence, we know, is going to be likely also maybe technically a better threat in the final third than maybe what Archie Gray would be. Emerson last season technically offered something similar to what like a defensive type minded fullback. I think Archie Gray would be even better than Emerson as like a defensive kind of minded, more right back. But again, I'm not so sure that's what Ange Postecoglou wants in the long term. Does he want like an alternative option to Porro that is a bit more defensive minded, a bit more cautious than Porro would be? Or does he want someone relatively similar to Porro, who is going to be a really good threat in the final third? That, I guess, remains to be seen. And that's kind of the question you asked. Does Ange want someone more like Jed Spence in the right back role, who's going to be creative, is going to be attack minded going forward? Or does he want someone slightly different to Porro that is going to be like what Emerson was, defensive minded, a bit more, a bit risk averse, let's say, and more keen on just trying to retain possession, build your way up through the final third a bit slower and yeah, with fewer risks taken in possession. I guess it's remained to be found out or remained to be seen, but that's my conclusion: is Ange might want more someone similar to Porro in that right back position. And I just think Gray is a great footballer, but I just think he's so different to Porro that it would be a bit odd, I think, for Ange to go for that. It'd be kind of like, it would really assure to me that Ange does want, if he goes for Gray at right back, it would really conclude to me that he wants someone that's very different to Porro as an alternative. But I'm going to make the guess that he would rather have someone more similar to Porro, which would open the position up to someone like a Jed Spence.
And no, look, I 100% agree with you. In an ideal world, that's what he will want, and that's what us fans want, right? We don't want a guy that's been a central midfielder most of his life that can fill in and do a good job at right back, but not give us everything we need. But that's what the club's going to make him end up doing. They're going to say, well, we can increase the area of the squad registration here because Archie Gray actually doubles up. So, we've been Tottenham fans all our life. We're always left short in various positions. And that's exactly what I feel is going to end up happening. But you are right. That's obviously what we want. Let's wait and see. It depends on what he's going to do with Jed Spence. Ideally, I think, he should look at it if he does want, another right back in the club and he knows the club ain't going to get it, I think he should have another look at Jed Spence and hopefully push Archie Gray through the middle. And that will allow him to sell off a couple of the Celsos, Højbjerg, who wants out, Skip, players like that. Help with and also bringing the likes of Spence and Archie Gray helps with the homegrown quota, which means there is no need to keep Skip around, especially if you have plans for the likes of Mikey Moore, maybe a Tyrese Hall, players like that, Donnelly. So let's wait and see. But look, Archie Gray, long term, will be central midfielder for Tottenham. Let us know in the comments. Do you think the initial football that he will get will be at right back, or do you think the club will just put him in at central midfield? Because we're so short pre-season, that's the only reason why we're seeing him in that back line.
Let us know, everybody, in those comments down below. Where does Archie Gray's future lie for either this upcoming season or in the seasons beyond this, right? It could be two different answers. Maybe this upcoming season, more used as a right back, as a stopgap filler, or is it going to be straight away, into the midfield? And we're going to end up bringing in another right back entirely and might not actually be where his future lies. Let us know in those comments down below, everybody. Smash that like button on the way out, and we'll be seeing you. And also, if you are watching this back on Sunday, let us know if you want to join us for the fan show come Monday, because we would love to have that conversation again with you if you feel like you have any bold conclusions about Archie Gray. So feel free to join us Monday for that fan show. But we'll be seeing you, everybody. Come on, you Spurs. In the big Ange we trust. We never stop.
We never stop.